Good afternoon, and welcome to Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. This is where you will meet some of the most intelligent, talented, and creative people who come to share tips, resources, and knowledge on various topics. They come from a magnitude of industries that include education, music, television, theater, fashion, culinary arts, hospitality, health and wellness, mental health, community activists, and much more. Today I have with me is Brian Gorman, where you will hear about his publishing company, Gorman House Publishing, and how it has given a platform to writers that want to be published. So Brian, welcome.
All right, thanks for having me.
So Brian, tell us a little bit about your background. Where are you from?
I'm from the south side of Chicago. My parents had me pretty young, so as they grew up, I moved with them. So I moved to Muncie, Indiana for a little bit. I lived in the south suburbs of Chicago, and I probably along the way went to about 20 schools between kindergarten and college. So, I know a lot of people.
Okay.
That lends to, my background and in organizing and things of that nature. So.
Okay. So now tell me a little bit about your company, Diverse City. What is that all about?
Diverse City we started Diverse City probably 20 years ago now. It was born out of a lot of different efforts. I went to school for music business management, and of course, in the process of trying to find my way in the music business, I wore a lot of different hats. And then in the process of wearing those different hats, I became proficient in some of those things. So I started offering those services to different people, and that's how Diverse City was born. We were doing a lot of festivals and events and marketing campaigns. And then, to try to diversify the money streams, we just kind of sold the services that we had to do those initiatives to other clients. And that's kind of how Diverse City was born.
Wow, that's kind of exciting, because I know that under that umbrella of Diverse City, like some of the things that I read off, there's so many components to it. Is that correct?
Yes. So like we do, so think about it in frameworks of putting together events. That's kind of the best way to look at it. When you put together an event, you have to design a flyer, or design a marketing materials. So in the process of us designing marketing materials for ourselves, we got proficient in design. Then in promoting an event, we had to distribute flyers and create street teams and things of that nature. So we started offering those services to other people. When you're having events, you have to document them. So we started taking pictures of our events, and we started getting published. At least I've been published quite a bit. I got published quite a bit with doing photography. So some people look at me as a photographer. So Diverse City is kind of the house where we put all of these services. People would call me and ask me about DJs and who can I get to DJ a certain event. And then I started booking the DJs that I would send them. So that became part of Diverse City services too. We started acquiring sound equipment in the process of doing our own events. But then, of course, when the sound equipment is sitting still, then we start renting it out to other people who need sound equipment. So that's kind of what Diverse City is. It's kind of the place where we're housing all of these various services to market events and festivals and different types of things like that. And in the process, we work with other people who assist us in like public relations. So we kind of liaison with certain publicists who include our services in with theirs. And we team up to create larger and deal with larger accounts. So that's how we scale up. And out of that, we started doing printing, because we had to print our flyers and materials and stuff that we were working with. And in doing that, we started acquiring clients in printing. And then we started getting discounts in printing because we've been printing so many clients. So that's how the Gorman House Publishing kind of come into play.
That was my next question. How did Gorman House Publishing come about? So tell us a little bit more about that. And then I want you to segue into your new book, The Black Agenda, because I actually had a chance to read it and I'd like to talk about that as well. So talk to me about how Gorman House Publishing got started.
So with Gorman House Publishing, my wife is a great poet. I mean, and I love her work. So in us discussing, what's the best ways of putting her work out there, with my printing background and my printing discounts, we published her first book of poetry. Actually, I got a copy right here. It's called Haikus for the Soul People. We published that book first. And in doing that book, it was old traditional ways of publishing, but that's how Gorman House Publishing got started. That was our first book. We self-published. And then from that, once we started publishing her books, we probably did about 5 of her poetry books to date. But then we started saying, well, we could do more with this. We could start publishing other works. And we started doing a collaboration with a couple of photographers to create projects, one of which was the GIA project, which you're in, the GIA project. And in the GIA project, that was just a way for us to counter the narrative that, of what Black people look like. So that kind of like started giving us shape as to what it is that we wanted to do with Gorman House Publishing, which was tell our own stories and kind of defy the stereotypes of what people believe the Black community looks like, and also tell, relevant stories that can assist within, what we're doing in the Black community.
So tell me, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to go back to the GIA project again. Can you hold that up again?
Sure.
Okay, so the GIA project, and then this is a book that shows Black families.
It shows a bunch of Black families. The biggest thing about it is just showing how happy, Black families are. Like, here's an example. This is 5 generations in one picture. Yes. And in that, it's just, a bunch of Black faces. And it's just, the reason we did that is because at the time, we were working with Nancy Wong, that's a friend of ours, and she was trying to figure out a way to bridge what she does as a photographer in with the stereotypes of what she's seen Black people to look like. So if you study imagery in photography, you'll notice that a lot of images of Black people are harsh, like the tattered and torn pictures of Reconstruction, the harsh photos of civil rights, with the dogs being sicked on people, the hard, power to the people, 70s look like, so everything is just harsh. And so, Black people are not that all the time. I mean, we are that maybe in that moment, but it's so much more to us than just that. And the media and everyone else just focuses on the negative. So with Gorman House Publishing and with the GIA project, that was an opportunity to dispel the myth that Black people on the South Side of Chicago are angry, Black people in the South Side of Chicago don't have families, and Black people in the South Side are only just dodging bullets. So that was just to give depth to what the Black family looks like. So that was what that project was. We completed that. It took 3 years to do that project. Wow. But it was once a month, every Saturday, we took free photos of families, and they can use those photos. The biggest thing was to have it on the wall, because you go into a Black family house, it's always
absolutely that's been
there for generations. So we wanted to provide that for Black families, and then also because it's the digital era, they can use that for Christmas cards and stuff like that. So a lot of the families used it for that nature, to just go in and create memories. And that's what we wanted to do, was create happy memories while dispelling myths at the same time. So
what I really like about it is pulling generations together, getting generations to come sit down and take this photo that they would probably not even think about doing. So it's a beautiful book. It's really, really beautiful. So now
Thank you.
tell me a little bit about the Black Agenda, because that book is massive and it has a lot of information in it, resources, and it looks like a compilation of a lot of people that were involved in it. And then tell me your involvement. What was your role in the book?
Okay, so with the Black Agenda, before I got to the Black Agenda, I have a not-for-profit called Custom Resources. And with Custom Resources, we work to kind of, assist in bringing resources to the community that's needed. And what I created a Facebook group called the Chicago Community Activism Group. And within that group, I noticed that there's always, boots on the ground, people that are out doing the work, on all levels of activism, but they were escaped funding, they was being escaped credit, all of these things. So I created the Chicago Community Activism magazine. So this is the Chicago Community Activism magazine, and that was done to highlight these various people. One of the gentlemen in there was Richard Wallace. He has an organization called EAT, which is Equity and Transformation. And they did a report called the Survival Economy Report. And that report basically put a face to the underground economy that we see that people have picked up through COVID. So like the person that's selling the loose cigarettes, the lady that's selling the snow cones, so that report put information where, when you do a study and it's studied by academia, then there's funding allotted to help assist with that. So that was a report that I thought was awesome. And when I published the magazine, I put in an advertisement for that. Well, when I do the political stuff in Chicago, I do that under under the banner of First Place Campaigns. So while I was working with First Place Campaigns in 2016, I believe, they had the update to the Black Agenda that happened in Gary, Indiana in 1972. So it was a lot of people that came together to basically come together to create this Black Agenda. And I knew about it. And when I saw the conference was happening, I went to go to the conference. And while there, I bumped into a group called the National Black Agenda Consortium. And that group was pretty much, it was quite a few people in that group that I knew, but I didn't know that they existed in one group. They were doing various different stuff, but I didn't know that they were working together. So there, I saw them working on the Black Agenda and updating it and gathering all this information. I saw file cabinets full of information. And so they started coming to meetings I was at and presenting and showing some of the work that they had been doing. And so that was 2017. So fast forward to 2021, and in February, right after I was working on publishing that magazine, I saw one of the leaders of the National Black Agenda Consortium, Reven Fellows. And when I saw Reven, I was kind of upset because I was looking for relevant material for Black people. So I was like, Reven, where the heck is the Black Agenda, man? They publishing the Survival Economies Report, and I've seen this and I've seen that, and Ice Cube, and so I'm like ranting. I'm like going off on him about where is this, because you all was first. I didn't seen it, and if you're a regular Black person, how do you get it? Like I'm really right. And so he's like, hold on, little brother, hold on. He was like, we finished it in 2017. And then he said that, that's the people's document. So you need to just publish it. If you want to get it to the people, just publish it. So I sat back and I was like, well, I also know how Black people can get into their egos. When you start talking about work and using their work and publishing it, so I was like, Reven, why don't you send it to me and let me look at it? So when he sent it to me, I saw pretty much what you saw in it. And there was a whole lot of people that worked on it. So I was like, hey, I can't publish this without approval from all of these people, because that'll get you in trouble. So Reven put me in conference with all of the various people who wrote on it and told them that my intention was to publish it so that we can have access so that people can actually get it and read it and utilize it as a tool. Because there's a lot of people that are waking up every day, and when they wake up, they get into their room, and when they get into their room, they reinvent the wheel because they don't know this type of work exists. They say that it doesn't exist, so they start over again. And what this was a culmination of all the documents. It's from pretty much this group, the National Black Consortium. It's probably 20 people that's worked on this book. All of them are subject matter experts. So they've done all the research. What they also did was they compiled everyone's ask from 1820. They went through all of the various Black conferences, the Tavis Smiley Town Hall, even down to Ice Cube's work, and compiled the general ask. And they broke it down into layman's terms, which is what made me like really want to publish it. They broke it down to the layman's terms. So if wherever you're at, if you're an individual, if you have an organization, if you're a politician, if you're any of those things, it's literally steps to what you can do within these various different things that affect Black community, from reparations to education to criminal justice reform to even, international policy with Africa. Like, there's so many different things that's in here, but each section is probably no more than 20 pages, but it's really concise. In step 1, do this. Step 2, do that.
That's what I was actually going to say to you, is just look at the economic empowerment.
Okay.
And then this is what I liked about it, because, okay, for economic empowerment, it says public policy recommendations, and then it has a community strategy. Then it has what the community can do, then what individuals can do, and what leaders and elected officials can do. And it does this for every single chapter that it has. Right, the chapter on education, emergency preparedness. It was such a well put together book that I was like, but one of the things that I noticed is that it does talk a lot about Illinois, because I guess that's where you guys are. But as I kept reading it, I said, this information is still relevant for no matter where you are.
Well, that's actually the best thing about this thing, is that it's a living document. And so in February of next year, I'm going to discontinue this book and do the updates. So each year it updates. So for now, we did it because it was from the Chicago lens, but it's relative to the national lens, because Chicago kind of sets the tone for a lot of how we treat Black people across the nation.
Yes.
So as a result of that, we did look at it from the Chicago tone and lens, but going forward, like on the revisions of the, next year, it'll be like this year, they added in COVID measures in some of it. So that wasn't in there last year. Okay. So every year they're updating this document and taking out what's not relevant anymore. The things that have been, people that have taken strides towards some of these things and actually have achieved it, they've, taken that out the list. So though they're doing that constantly on a constant basis. So therefore next year, this is going to be a different book. But it'll still be the Black agenda based upon the ask that we've had since 1820.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's such a beautiful piece of material. And I'm so glad that I was able to purchase it and really have a chance to go through it. So Brian, now I would like to segue out of all of this and find out, who are 3 people that have inspired you?
3 people that have inspired me.
Because I know you probably have more, but just nail it down to 3 right now for me.
Okay. S.B. Fuller.
Who was that?
S.B. Fuller.
Who was S.B. Fuller?
S.B.
S.B.
Yes, S.B.
Okay.
Fuller. S.B. Fuller he was a businessman. So to give you the idea of who S.B. Fuller was, he started like selling different products, and one of which was soap. So he worked so many clients that he was able to buy the soap company that he was buying the soap from, which was a white company in like I want to say the 40s. So he built that up, and of course he did the front business. So nobody knew that he was in the background doing this work. And so he got really rich. He was one of our first biggest millionaires. So a lot of people that you know, like Johnson Products and Johnson Publishing and all of these people, Dudley Hair Products, like all of those people learned from SB Fuller because he hired them and taught them how to do their business. But they were doing his business, but that's how they got the chops to do their business, because they learned from him. In fact, one of the biggest points of SB Fuller that, always touched me was that after the Montgomery bus boycott, the bus company was like almost destitute because they had boycotted it to the point they didn't have any money. And so SB Fuller was like, hey, let's just go in and buy it. I'll finance it, because that's who he was. He was like, let's just buy it, and then we'd have our bus company. But, the ideologies was different back then, so they never followed through with that. But that's who SB Fuller was. Another one is Asa Randolph. Asa Philip Randolph was another one, because he organized the Pullman Porters, and during a time where we were mistreated, but we were the ones that everyone needed. So he was able to organize the Pullman Porter and the Pullman Porters, and use that as a platform to help elect people and all types of stuff. So he's another one. And then I'd say the third one would be my daughter. She inspires me all the time because she's amazing. And not because she's my child, but because I'm like, she's my child, like that. It's more that than the other. It's like, wait a minute, that came from me. So she inspires me in so many ways because, I was a fearless child because, what they say, God takes care of babies and fools. I was the foolish child that got into everything. And she's the calculated child. Like, she really thinks before she leaps, which, I have to say is something that I didn't have. And she inspires me because, she's very thought provoking, to say the least, in all her activities. So yeah,
that has a lot to do with her parents. I mean, you played a role in that. I remember when she was little, you used to say, man, she understands leverage. I don't know what she was doing, but you said that when she was like a toddler.
Right. And she did leverage, and and it's scary because she was a toddler and now she's a teen. So leverage for her now is second nature. Yeah, so it's like, it's like she came here with something, yes, we molded certain things, but she came here with something. And as a result of that, man, watching her grow is inspirational to me. Yes. Because, I'm curious of what's going to come of her, because I really have no say. I'm just like watching it. And so
it quality, she really has, she stands out no matter wherever she goes. She it's amazing.
I mean, in fact, in the Chicago Community Activism magazine, the whole back of it is her.
Is that right?
This is all her.
Okay.
Fact, that right there, that's a picture of you and her in the interview that you did with her. But,
she is amazing. She is amazing. No, I can get it. So your three is SB Fuller, Philip Randolph, and Amina Sunshine Gorman. I mean, you can't get better than that. So now, Brian, looking back at your life, what would your 9-year-old Brian say to the grown Brian now?
The 9-year-old Brian would probably say, don't hit them people. Because I was a violent kid, you know what I'm saying? Like I was really a violent kid. And so
why were you violent?
Well, it was just the best way to say it is that I didn't know how to express myself. And so, you know, I did know how to communicate, but I didn't have the power to maneuver things the way that I wanted to. So what I learned is that if you can't convince somebody, then you sock them, you know. And so so that was me as a kid. And you know, that didn't quite, you know, it actually, I don't know, maybe it was a good thing that I went through that young, because it taught me that that's not how I should be as an adult, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
So on one side, you know, but if I was to see myself back then, I wouldn't have seen myself today, because that wasn't my, like, me being, you know, thinking about what's going on and saying, hey, this has a reaction. You know, my first action was to stomp out the problem, no matter how it is. And now I've learned through that you can't just stomp out problems. You can just kind of, you know, like, move with them and learn how to mold yourself around them and not necessarily let them affect you. So my 9-year-old self would have never even thought that I could do that, to tell me, you know, to learn how to step that. My 9-year-old self would have just been like, don't sock them people, because that's not gonna end well.
Good advice. Now, I know that early on, you and I were talking about the devastation that's happening in our country with Black men, and actually Black women now as well. There was a time when we weren't touched, but now they don't care. And I saw that your profile was of George Floyd. Could you talk to us a little bit about that right now?
My
And
my profile
is your company, is your
let me,
business doing something towards that effort?
yes. So let me do this for a second. That's my profile picture. That's the profile picture that you are
Yes, that's so
talking
heart
about.
wrenching. It's hard to look at.
So that's absolutely hard to look at. But in that moment when I saw that picture, I mean, I saw when George Floyd took that 8 minutes. I saw him crying for his mom. I saw all of those things, but I had never seen that image. And so when I saw that image upon the trial, and they showed that image, it struck a nerve with me, because I've been in that spot where the police are standing over me in a threatening manner, you know, and being in that spot, I know how he felt in that moment. So I posted that, and I was like, every Black male knows this feeling captured on film. So that's what that was. And then we started talking about the young man in Minnesota, and I started discussing with you, you know, the reality of trauma. You know, I know for me, I would assume that I'd be calm because I'm pretty level-headed, but at the same time, I'm also traumatized because I've been beat down to police when I was in high school. You know, they choked me and all of those things. So and I went to Illinois State, which is in Bloomington, Illinois, and that's a sundown town. So being in that environment, I've always have this angst and anxiety when police get behind me. And so that's a reality of being Black as a male in this just in existence. But when we start talking about the climate of the trauma that we've seen on the news played out over and over, and George Floyd and Philando Castile, like there's so many people, especially in Minnesota, that are dying, that I don't know how I would react if, in a threatening manner, someone that has authority over my life can stand there on a whim, depending on how they're feeling that day, and depending on their biasness of how they judge me upon appearance, and they can kill me. So it might be a fight or flight. It might be any type of reaction. I don't know, because it's a reaction to trauma, and people are not rational when they've been traumatized. You know, so with me, I can say, hey, I would act like this, or I would never run. But in reality, I really don't know how I would react if I was scared and I thought I couldn't get home to a Tiffany and Amina. I'd probably freak out and try to figure it out. Like, okay, I got to get out of here some kind of way and save myself. And there's no telling what that would play out as or what that would look like. So that's the reality of us in this country. And so with you asked me about the organization. So with that, I do I mentioned my non-for-profit custom resources. So within that, I assist organizations that are doing certain good things in the community and help them build capacity so they can do more. So instead of reinventing the wheel and saying, hey, I'm against homelessness, and then let me start another homeless organization, I'm going to go help the homeless organizations that are actually doing the work to build capacity. Maybe they don't know how to get grant funding. Maybe they don't have people that can help them get volunteers. So within my non-for-profit, that's what I'm doing. So one of the organizations is the Watch Guard. The Watch Guard is an organization where they are basically being the neighborhood watch organization. So they're assisting, de-escalating issues within the community prior to the police getting involved, because if you can de-escalate them before that level, then you may not have that violent reaction when the police show up, or that anxiety because they're there, because not all police are bad, but if you show up and you have all this intimidating outfit on and I'm afraid of the police, then that doesn't lend to me being calm, which doesn't lend to you seeing me as a calm individual, and you have to react. So it's like, trying to create these opportunities to de-escalate these situations before they happen. And then also being able to commit to policing our own communities, because the police are not here to be overseers, which is what a lot of people assume that they're supposed to do because they're the police. They're here to assist us in making sure that our communities are safe. They're supposed to be a tool to help us do those things and not the first line, right? But we look at them as the first line, and that's not my issue, and let them go deal with it, and we pay them for that. And they go over there with their biasness and whatever, and they create more of a problem because they're not from this community. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
We start talking about the police and partnering and being more, in sync with one another. It has to start somewhere, and dialect begins with action. So if you're doing something, then people will assist you with it if they see it. But if you're quiet and you're not doing anything, nobody will help you. And therefore, we won't have these conversations where we can de-escalate issues with the police. But if they see you out there working, they want to work with you. So, you have to create opportunities for that to happen. And then also to have a line of communication so that you can say you messed up, and there's accountability for that. But if there's no dialogue, then there's a stone wall. And that stone wall is the blue line, them and us and all that. When reality, there is no real line. It's just community. And how do we interact with one another within it, So.
It's a heavy topic, heavy topic. And I just really need all of this to stop. I'm tired of them killing us. I need it to stop. So thank you for all the efforts that you're doing. So now, how can people be in touch with you if they want to get published with Gorman House Publishing? What do people need to do?
For Gorman House Publishing, they can go to gormanhousepublishing.com.
Okay.
And on there, they can send us an email inquiry, which is on the site, but they can also email us at gormanhousepublishing@gmail.com. So
Okay.
It's pretty simple to contact us in publishing. If you want to see all the things that we're associated with, is for diversity, it's enterthecity.com, www.enterthecity.com. And then for the not-for-profit, it's customresourceschicago.com.
All
So
right.
those are the best ways to reach us, and also to kind of see what we're doing, because we update the site pretty much weekly.
Well, you have been really busy. Keep up the good work. Very proud of you.
Yeah,
And, I just can't wait to see more, because I know there's more to come, and I can't wait to get back to Chicago. I can't wait for it to open up.
Well, we can't wait to see you. In fact, we were going to sneak on this in the luggage so that we could get to San Francisco, because we got to see you, right?
I know it's been a minute. It's been a minute, and it's hard. So, but I will get back there.
Yeah.
Lionel and I were just talking about that. It's like we got to get to Chicago.
Well, I told Tiffany that if I gotta go through there looking like the Borg and wearing all that stuff on my face, I'll do it. I mean, let's go.
Tiffany won't. She's not ready yet.
She's not ready yet, and that's okay because when she's ready, I'm gonna be the first one there with the Borg suit on, with all the stuff wrapped around my face. So
I cannot wait. I can't wait, but it'll happen soon because I already promised Mina that we're doing her 16th birthday. I'm doing her doing a 16th. You guys can still do something in Chicago, but she's gonna have a 16. Yeah, she's gonna have a 16 with her family out here for sure.
Well, she wants to have her 14th, 15th, and 16th with her family.
Always, that, always. All right.
Have a middle birthday and everything else. She want to have all that.
Absolutely. Well, it has been a pleasure talking to you, learning more about Diversity and Gorman House Publishing and Custom Resource Center. So thank you so much for taking out the time to be on Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And I'll have you back. All right.
Okay.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.